9 million square kilometers, 610. It's absolutely incredible how big the US is. Hi and welcome, I'm Chris and I love to learn everything about the great USA. And great is the right word, because today we are finding out how big is the USA actually. I mean, yeah, there is mainland, right? And there is Alaska and Hawaii and what else? So we are finding out exactly that. And let's go into a reaction.
The United States is currently the world's sole superpower with military installations around the world. As a country, its geography spans from subtropical forests to rolling plains, scorching deserts, and Arctic wastes. But just how big is the US really in comparison to the rest of the world? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Infographics Show. Today, we're taking a look at how big the US really is. The US is approximately 5,680,000 square miles, with terrain
9 million square kilometers. That's like 30 times of what? 25 times Germany. That's incredible.
Million square miles.
Yeah.
And Canada at 6,205,000
Wow, Canada
square
is
miles
greater.
are larger than the US. Its three biggest states, Alaska at 663,000 square miles, Texas at 270,000 square miles.
Texas alone is bigger than Germany. That's absolutely crazy.
And California at 160,000 square miles, combined would be the 17th largest nation in the world, immediately after Sudan at 1.15 million square miles, and right before Libya at 1 million square miles. In total, the US is larger than the 107 smallest countries in the world.
107
With
countries.
about 327 million people, the United States is also the third most populated nation on Earth, having a total of 4.28% of the total world population. With a net yearly migration rate of approximately 900,000 people, the US is by far the one place the rest of the world wants to live, with Germany coming in second at 350,000 migrants, and Turkey in third with 325,000 migrants.
To give some insight, Turkey has like a deal with the EU to let people not into the EU, so therefore so many go to Turkey and then stop there.
In the US, 83% of the population lives in cities.
Please hit like and subscribe, it would help me so much. Thank you.
With its three most populated cities being New York City with 8.5 million people, Los Angeles with 4 million people, and Chicago with 2.7 million people. All combined, the population of the US's three biggest cities is equal to the population of Chad with 14.5 million people. Just these three cities alone are also more populated than Cuba with 11.5 million people, Belgium with 11.3 million people, and Greece with 11.2 million people. When counting the greater metropolitan area, New York City is the 10th largest city in the world, with a total population of 18.6 million people, just behind.
That's absolutely incredible, because this is like a fourth of Germany. This is so much. Just 4 times New York is whole Germany.
And Cairo with 18.8 million people, and just ahead of Dhaka with 17.6 million people. This would make the greater New York City area the 63rd largest country in the world, just ahead of Syria with 18 million people. The US is the world's largest economy with a gross domestic product of $20.4 trillion, or
20.4. So around 5 times Germany. Wow.
3% of the total global economy. China is just behind the US at $14 trillion and 16.1% of the total global economy. When measured by purchasing power parity, or the price of goods and services versus individual incomes, the US comes at number 2 to China, whose GDP PPP is $25.2 trillion.
Tell me more about this PPP. I never heard of it. I know probably like the German equivalent, but I don't know what PPP is in England. Tell me what this is. I studied economics, but I still don't know this.
This means that while the Chinese economy is about 30% smaller than the US's, Chinese individuals have on average 20% greater purchasing power in their own country. The three biggest economies within the US states are California with a GDP of $2.6 trillion, Texas with a GDP of $1.6 trillion, and New York with a GDP of $1.5 trillion. Altogether, these three states would be the world's third largest economy.
That's absolutely crazy.
With a GDP of $5 trillion. California's economy alone is as big as the United Kingdom's, Texas's is as big as Canada's, and New York's is as big as South Korea's. The United States also has the best equipped military in the world. though it's only the third largest at 1,282,000 active duty personnel. Ahead of it are India with 1.4 million active duty personnel and China with 2.1 million.
Yeah, but we have also to say, I mean, I think USA was 1.3 million, right? I mean, India is like 4 to 5 times as big, and China as well. So it's incredibly crazy how many people are in the US Army.
Active duty personnel. The U.S. spends over $610 billion on its military every year.
610. Germany did like last year or the year before 100 billion, and that was like a big deal in Germany. And you do that every year, 610 billion.
Of its total GDP, 35% of the world's total military expenditure, and more than the next 9 nations combined. Just behind it are China with $150 billion in expenditures and Saudi Arabia with $76 billion in expenditures.
I didn't know Saudi Arabia does so much on military. Interesting.
The United States also has the most military bases in the most foreign countries in the world, with approximately 800 military installations in 80 countries, possibly more military bases in more foreign lands than any nation or...
Yeah, tell me more about your military spendings. Do people say, hey, this is spent better on other things? Because always when we have something like this in Germany, people say this as well.
Empire in history. The cost of maintaining these bases alone is about $156 billion, more than China spends
already more than this 100 billion thing that we had.
Entire military. On the civilian side, the U.S. has the world's third largest police force, with 913,000 total police officers, placing it just behind India at number 1 with 1.9 million police officers, and China with 1.6 million police officers. In the realm of healthcare, the U.S. is the most expensive nation on earth, with a health expenditure per capita.
Yeah, is it that bad? Because we always hear rumors in Germany like that you get bankrupt or stuff like this, or couldn't pay your bills in America. Tell me more. Is it really that bad? Yeah.
Of $10,350, placing it ahead of Switzerland at $7,900 and Germany at $5,500.
We are expensive? I didn't expect it that.
While on average the rest of the world spends about 10.3% of its GDP on healthcare, the US spends 18% of its GDP on healthcare. The United States is a large, complex nation, big enough to host several different distinct accents within its own borders. Its people are hardworking and industrious, leading the world's economy. But despite what recent political events might indicate, they're also the most welcoming nation in the world, with 3 times the number of immigrants than nations in either the number 2 or number 3 spot in a global comparison.
The US isn't the only welcoming place in the world. We've never felt more welcomed than when we signed up with Wix to build a website. Regardless
Good advert. Good advert.
of what exactly
Let's see, is there more? Doesn't look like it. Well, this was, like the infographic show suggests, a very, very informative video. It's absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, you know that the USA is big, right? It's like the length of a whole continent, or the width. But it's absolutely incredible how big the US is in terms of military, in terms of economical performance and stuff like this. That's absolutely incredible. And you can clearly see why the US is so influential in the world, not only due to media, but of course there are also like, what was it, 370 million people? That is like, I think they said 3rd biggest country in the world. So of course you see why it is so influential. And yeah, tell me more about maybe big numbers that you know about the USA. I studied math and economics, so I'm always a sucker for numbers. So tell me more about them. So please, because this is one of my first videos, do a like and a subscribe. It would help me so much. Because yeah, every viewer counts at this stage. And yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, and also please recommend more videos I can react to, because you are probably American, so that means you know your country best, right? So please recommend more videos to me. Thank you. So keep liking and subscribing, and we see each other in the next video. Bye!